Jā, labrīt visiem. Es domāju, ka mēs varam sākt. Es redzu, ka vēl cilvēki aktīvi slēdzās klāt. Tad vai mani labi var dzirdēt? Varbūt variet čatā iemest ziņu, ja nevarat dzirdēt vai kaut kas nav saprotams. Paties prieks jūs visus sveikt šajā virtuālajā tikšanās vietā. Es esmu Armāns Dīriņš, klientu attiecību vadītājs DATI Group. Šo semināru mēs esam nodēvējuši drošas saziņas platformu organizācijām, jeb WhatsApp alternatīvu, lai būtu, teiksim, tāda asociācija, par ko vispār iet runa. Ja? Un jūsu interesi liecina, ka šī piedāvātā tēma par drošu un pārvaldām multividas saziņas platformu ir gan aktuāla. Jo seminārā bija piereģistrējušies vairāk kā 20 cilvēku, ja es redzu, ka 20 arī ir apmēram pieslēgušies tagad, ja? Tad šī mūsu interese tiešām norāda uz to, ka šī tēma ir gan aktuāla. Iesākumā dažas organizatoriskas lietas. Ja? Tad vebināru organizējam DATI Group sadarbībā ar mūsu partneriem Head Technologies un Teamwire. Vebinārs tiks ierakstīts un ieraksts būs pieejams DATI Group YouTube kanālā. Jautājumus varat uzdot semināru laikā, un mēs centīsimies, teiksim, tos atbildēt pēc semināra, ja? Izmantojot chat funkciju vai Q&A funkciju. Tad webināra ilgums ir aptuveni 1 stunda. Un mēs esam paredzējuši arī vēl papildus laika jautājumiem un atbildēm, tad, kad mēs būsim pieejami arī kādu teiksim, pusstundu pēc šī webināra noslēguma. Par saturu, tad sākumā es īsi iepazīstināšu ar mūsu uzņēmumu, ar DATI Group. Un tad turpināsim angļu valodā, dodot vārdu Gianfranco Pizzata, ja, Teamwire pārdošanas direktora. Ja rodās arī kaut kādi jautājumi pēc šī semināra vai ir kāda interese parādījusies, tad droši kontaktējieties ar mums. Ja? Es mūsu kontaktu informāciju ierakstīšu čatā. Ja? Labi, tad es sākšu nedaudz ar dažiem slaidiem. Ja? Ilgi jūsu uzmanību neaizkavēšu no šīs dienas galvenās tēmas. Ja? Tieši kas esam mēs, DATI Group. Tātad DATI Group, mēs esam viens no pieredzes bagātākajiem privātajiem uzņēmumiem informāciju komunikāciju tehnoloģiju jomā Latvijā. Uzņēmums dibināts 1993. gadā. Un šobrīd uzņēmums nodarbina vairāk kā 30 dažādas speciālistus, kuri, teiksim, certificējušies, teiksim, dažādos virzienos un ar dažādiem ražotājiem. Tad DATI Group. Tā DATI Group pamatā ir 4 darbības virzieni. Tātad pirmais darbības virziens tā ir infrastruktūras risinājumi, gan tradicionālās infrastruktūras, kā serveri un datu krātuvs, kā arī, teiksim, dažādas mākoņu platformas un virtualizācijas platformas un tam līdzīgi. Šeit jāpiemina, ka DATI Group izstrādātā privātā mākoņu platforma FlexCloud ieguva Latvijas atvērto tehnoloģiju asociācijas gada balvu kā atvērtākais risinājums. Tad to mums pasniedz praktiski pirms dažām nedēļām. Ja. Otrs virziens ir sistēma integrācija, tad nodrošinot sistēmu savstarpējos sadarbību. Un tie ir dažādi, teiksim, risinājumi, teiksim, kur mēs varam iekļaut gan, teiksim, alternatīvās enerģijas avotus, gan, teiksim, komunikācija risinājums, sensoru risinājumus, video novērošanas, ja, un to datu analītikas un pārvaldības platformas. Ja. Trešais virziens tad ir dažādi analītikas risinājumi, ja, kur mēs sadarbojamies ar vadošajiem ražotājiem, teiksim, kā IBM, kā Harris Computers. Ja. Un tie ir arī, teiksim, IT drošības virzinājumi, IT drošības risinājumi, kur tātad ir arī, teiksim, daļēji mūsu šīs dienas sarunas tēma. Ja. Kā arī dažādi ļoti specifiski risinājumi, kā kriminalistikas rīki un datu analītikas rīki un tam līdzīgi. Ja. Un ceturtais pīlārs tad ir programma izstrādāšana, ja, kur mēs izstrādājam programmatūru pēc klienta specifikācijām. Tad tie ir dažādi ļoti specifiski risinājumi, ja, kur klients mums, teiksim, pastāst, ja, kas teiksim, tai programmatūrai būtu jāizdara, ja, tad to mēs arī spējam uzprogrammēt. Ja. Vienkārši te ir daži nozīmīgākie infrastruktūras projekti, kurus mēs tā sakot esam nesen izveikuši. Ja. Tad viens pirmais un tāds ļoti interesants projekts ir arī, kur mēs izmantojam tad jau pieminēto FlexCloud risinājumu. Ja. Tā ir vairāk kā petabaita izmēra objektu krātuve Latvijas Nacionālajā bibliotēkai, kur tiek saglabāts arī viss Latvijas kultūras mantojums, digitalizētais kultūras mantojums. Ja. Un arī šis ir viens no valsts nozīmes datu centriem šobrīd. Otrais projekts šeit pieminētais ir attālināta ugunsgrēka atklāšanas un novērošanas sistēma valsts meža dienestam. Un tas tieši raksturo, ko es minēju ar šo sistēmu integrāciju. Ja, jo šeit mēs esam piegādājuši gan alternatīvās enerģijas avotus, gan komunikāciju risinājumu, gan video novērošanas risinājumu, gan arī, video novērošanas datu analītika. Tad analītikas programmatūra, kur spēja atpazīt meža ugunsgrēku, tad pacelt arī, trauksmi, ja tur ir kas aizdomīgs noticis. Ja. Un trešais ir tāds, kur vienkārši sadarbībā ar IBM, izmantojot IBM i2, ja, tad finanšu izlūkošanas dienestam, esam izveidojuši viņu vajadzībām atbilstošu risinājumu, kā arī nodrošinot administratoru un lietotāju apmācības. Tad esam arī aktīvi dalībnieki dažādās organizācijās, kā CERN Baltics, kā Latvijas atvērto tehnoloģiju asociācijas, Latvijas drošības aizsardzība industrijas federācija, Latvijas tirdzniecības rūpniecības kamera un Latvijas informāciju un tehnoloģiju asociācijas biedri. Un, ja ir kādi jautājumi vai nepieciešama kāda papildus informācija, tad nekautrēties ar mums sazināties, ja, par norādītajām adresēm un telefoniem. Ja. Tad tas bija tas, ko es vēlējos pastāstīt par DATI Group, un tagad turpināsim angļu valodā, un es dodu vārdu Gianfranco. Gianfranco, then the floor is, or the screen, rather the screen is yours. Yeah. So, and please take it over from here.
Great, thanks a lot. Give me 1 second that I share my screen. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, welcome everybody for this webinar today about Teamwire, our business messenger. I hope English is okay for everyone. I will try to speak slowly. Usually I'm Italian, even though I was born in Germany, and I usually tend to speak very fast. So I try to keep myself a little bit slower. Maybe to start with Teamwire, who we are. Basically, Teamwire is a German company. We were founded 11 years ago in Germany. Our headquarters is Munich. And I'm the head of sales, so I'm leading the sales team in Düsseldorf, which is a city in the center of Germany, basically, where also our marketing is located. And we have started 11 years ago with the idea to bring business messaging or messaging into companies. So Teamwire is not a consumer solution. We are focusing on business only. If we look today, who is using Teamwire already, there are a number of reference customers I can show you, and some I can only name. For example, German state polices are using Teamwire heavily. I would guess that more than 50% of the police officers in Germany as of today are using Teamwire as a communication tool similar to WhatsApp, because they have the need to exchange data on a secure way. And so basically, if there's an operation that you send pictures, that you send documents, that you send your location, whenever it's a football game, for example, or some investigation, Teamwire is heavily used within polices. But also ministries like the Federal Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, for example, in Germany is using Teamwire. We have insurance company like Continental is using Teamwire. Vodafone, as a telecommunication company, is using Teamwire internally for some security aspects. But Vodafone is also a big reseller who is selling Teamwire through their channels to their customers. The same applies also for Dataport. Dataport is a state data center which is responsible for almost 30% of state companies in the northern part of Germany who are selling Teamwire as a managed service to their customers like Police Hamburg, Fire Brigades Hamburg, Schleswig-Holstein Police, but also some other official companies. You probably know TÜV. TÜV as the testing service provider worldwide operating are using Teamwire worldwide actually for their users who are basically mobile and to have to communicate with the internal stuff are using Teamwire also very heavily. And last but not least, a segment which is also core of our customer is basically the healthcare market. So we have a number of hospitals who are using Teamwire because usually in the hospital, employees like doctors, nurses, they are mobile, so they're not sitting on their desk, and they have a need to have a communication tool where they can simplify or in a simple way like WhatsApp communicate through each other when some patient data is needed to exchange. Those are basically more or less the most important customers. There are also military of defenses all over Europe who are using Teamwire, which I cannot name, but I can only mention that we have them as customers. Basically, for security reasons, there are many other companies I'm not allowed to share on the screen. If we look, why is this important? I think that it has been mentioned in the beginning. One big problem that companies or public authorities have nowadays is the heavily use of WhatsApp. So we are in the messaging area, and I think the fact that mobile communication has developed a lot. So in companies or in public authorities, the availability of mobile phones is very large. So people are used to communicate rather with mobile phones than with laptops, for example. And basically the fact that in the private consumer world, employees are using WhatsApp as a communication tool whenever it's with their families, with their friends, even with colleagues. They're used to have this, I would say, new communication tool, messaging, which helps a lot. Basically, what I always present as an example, my mother, she's 75. And my mother actually, she uses WhatsApp and Teamwire because it's so close to each other. I mean, it's a similar user experience, and she can easily manage to use WhatsApp, also Teamwire. If I ask her to send me an email, she's basically not able to do so because for her it's too complicated. I also tried once to explain to my mother Teams, for example, Microsoft Teams, even Teams is too complicated for her. So the message that I want to bring with this slide to your attention is basically based on the fact that we are in the messaging area and your employees in your private life are using WhatsApp or Telegram or Signal, whatever, the decision whether or not your employees are using a messenger is nothing that you take. It's basically the employees. That means if you don't take care of a messenger, a business messenger in your business, the employee will basically use what they have. And nowadays, I don't know in your region, but in Germany or in Europe, most spread messenger is WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal. So you basically have a problem with all your security aspects, data protection, stuff like that. And that is the bridge to Teamwire, basically. What is Teamwire? Teamwire is a secure alternative to WhatsApp. It's not a really alternative because we don't operate in the consumer world, but it's an alternative that you can use in your business world. Why? Because Teamwire provides an intuitive messaging app with all known features from WhatsApp, which your employees are used to use. I mean, if your employees are using WhatsApp, they probably know a big set of features that also we provide as a messenger. So everything that they know of WhatsApp is something we can provide to in a similar user experience. Other than that, I mean, this is the important part for your employees. The other 6 bullets here on the slides are aspects that are from a company perspective important. And this is, of course, the strong data protection and security of our solution. I mean, we as a German provider, we also have to fulfill all the GDPR requirements that has been put in place from a GDPR perspective, but also from a German perspective when it comes to data security and data protection. Based on the reference customers I have shown you at the first slide, you can imagine that those customers have heavily tested Teamwire and they're heavily testing on the go. I mean, there are a number of penetration tests year over year where authorities like police officers, ministries are testing Teamwire to see whether or not Teamwire is still meeting their security and data protection requirements. And nonetheless, I mean, you're always invited to also put your pen tests in place if you want to see how secure Teamwire is. Another factor which is important for you as a company, if you consider to deploy a messenger, is the enterprise-grade administration of the solution. So it doesn't help you if you want to eliminate WhatsApp and you start with Signal because, for example, Signal has a better encryption method. You have to ensure that from an enterprise perspective, there's also a level of administration. For example, that the app can be used on a private device, for example. And by using it on a private device, you can set some policies in terms of usage. I mean, what are the contents that the employee is allowed to send with a messenger? Is it only pictures but no videos? Are they allowed to share their location? Are they allowed to share their camera? Can you remote wipe the data if the private phone has been lost? So all the enterprise-grade features in administration is important to companies or to public authorities, and when it comes to deploying a messenger. And this is something we have set as a core of our solution, that there are a number of functions that you can set. If you want, I can show you, I can log on to a dashboard where you can see how you can basically administer Teamwire from a dashboard company perspective. One other aspect is obviously not only the mobile part, but also the desktop part or different device types. So Teamwire is a multi-device solution. So whatever device you want to use, you can use it. We support all devices. So iPhone or Apple on iPhone and tablet, Android on tablet and phone. We have a desktop client for all Windows versions, for Mac versions, and also for Linux. And we have also a web client. So regardless on which device you log on to, similar to, I always take the IMAP example, you have your credentials, you log on to your account and your data is there. You don't need to take care of backups, when your data is, if you have lost your devices, if a device has been remote wiped because it has been stolen whatsoever. Teamwire will take care of that. The other important question that you have to ask yourself, if you consider a messaging alternative, is not only how secure is Teamwire or how secure is the messenger in terms of encryption. The more relevant question is, where is the data hosted and who has access to the data? We as Teamwire provide 3 solutions basically. So you can use Teamwire in a public cloud. The public cloud is a data center, an ISO certified data center in Germany. And obviously it's not AWS or something like that. It's a German fully operated data center, which we provide as public cloud. You can also use Teamwire as private cloud, where you have a partner of your choice that provides a managed service for you. So it feels like a cloud, but it's not a public cloud, it's a private cloud. And the last solution is that you can use Teamwire on-premise. So if you use Teamwire on-premise, the solution is in your environment, and we as a supplier or as a manufacturer, we have no access to your installation. So it's completely isolated. And you manage, or your partner, DATI Group Head Technology, they can manage the environment for you in terms of installation, updates, whatsoever. So this is a very important question. Where's the data stored and who has access to the data? And you as a customer with Teamwire can decide where the data is stored and who has access to the data. Last but not least, I guess that EMM or UMM solution, how they're called today, are heavily spread. And for us, at least when we talk to our customers, it's really important that you can also deploy an app like Teamwire with your EMM solution, so that you have your company container on your phone. Either the phone is fully managed, so that there are no private apps allowed, or you have two parts, a private part and a business part, but actually that you can provide Teamwire with UEMM solution. That has a number of advantages, like Teamwire runs only in the company container, and Teamwire then communicates only with company apps like company file share solution, company calendar, whatsoever. And of course, you can also establish a secure connection. I mean, Teamwire has multiple security layers, which I will talk later a little bit. But if you're using an EMM solution, you can also set up a VPN connection, for example, as an additional communication factor. So in summary, Teamwire as alternative to WhatsApp provides a fully intuitive messaging UI similar to WhatsApp, but as company requirements, strong data protection, enterprise-grade administration, and data storage of your choice, which you can decide and depends on your security requirements you have. So we as Teamwire claim our messenger as a secure business messenger for your enterprise communication, so that you can use that you can fast and easy communicate between mobile forces and desktop workers from any time, any place, any acquisition. Teamwire, however, is a little bit more than that. So what I've shown you on the feature level are the typical, is a comparison to WhatsApp. From a business perspective, we have also some business features that we provide, which is far more than, for example, WhatsApp or other messenger provide. And one important factor or one important feature is the group communication. If you take WhatsApp, I think WhatsApp, the number of group chats members is limited to 100, 200, even Threema Work, for example, as a business solution, they provide 250 users in a chat. With Teamwire, you can easily create group chats with 2,500 members. You can create distribution lists similar to email communication, where you have a distribution list with 1,000, 2,000 users. And if there is an important operation, for example, in the police case, you take this distribution list, and with 2 clicks, you can create a group chat with 2,500 members, for example. This is really, really important for a fast and efficient communication when it comes to group communication. The other part that is important in terms of group chats is the administration or professional administration of such fully managed chats. In Teamwire, you can actually decide who is the admin, of course, in a chat, and whether, for example, member is allowed to leave a chat. If I am the head of sales and I create a group chat with all my employees, maybe I don't want that my employees leave the chat, because the information that I share in my sales chat is so important to my employees that I don't want them to leave. So there is a policy, for example, that members are not allowed to leave this chat if you have set this policy. So there are a number of policies that you can set in terms of group communication that you can set as a administration. So group chat, a completely different level compared to consumer apps. The other thing that we have introduced lately is voice over IP and video calling, that you can easily use Teamwire also as a communication tool in terms of VoIP and video. Nothing very new, I have to admit, but along with VoIP and video calling, we have introduced push to talk. I don't know how much experience you have with push to talk, based on the fact that we heavily work with polices and security organization and military of defense. Push to talk is an important feature in terms of, a fast and efficient communication. I will show you a video. I hope you can hear the sound where you get an impression how it works.
With Teamwire, we've embarked on a technological milestone. We are introducing the push-to-talk standard in our business messenger. This new feature simplifies the process of sending and receiving audio messages. Click on the microphone button in the upper left corner of the Teamwire inbox. Select either existing one-to-one and group chats or create new groups for which push-to-talk is supposed to be activated. After selecting the chat, a large blue button appears, which is used for voice communication.
We have found the missing person. The report can be closed accordingly.
You can easily switch between the push-to-talk channels by swiping left and right. As with all other chat features, it's possible for the IT administrator to set individual communication rules for push-to-talk chats. Download Teamwire today. Secure, simple, high-performing. Enjoy.
I hope you got an idea how this push-to-talk feature works. And this is, for example, a case. As we work with big organizations or public authorities, push-to-talk was very important for them in order to have a fast and direct communication. This is something we have taken seriously. We always take serious from our customers what they need and have implemented this push-to-talk functionality. And it helps them really a lot to fasten and to easy communication. And it's not meant to be an alternative to the digital radio. It's just a redundant solution because the digital radio in Germany, at least, has some outages, especially in buildings. Digital radio is very weak. And in that case, having push-to-talk in your mobile phone in one device, so you don't need to have a second device, you can have an easy direct communication. Another important feature that we have introduced, and this comes also, if I have to be honest, from polices, military and stuff like that, is an alerting function. So Teamwire provides an alerting function and a panic button. Alerting function is used or is a way to send messages with a priority. So if you send a message as alerting message, your phone will ring louder. You can see that it appears different in the inbox with a red batch counter and a red unread alert message, things like that, in order to give you some attention that this is an important message you have to read. So if you get a number of messages day by day, hour by hour, you have to have the possibility, especially if you work in public authorities, to have some sort of priority for important messages. And these messages can be also acknowledged. So there's a acknowledge function I will show you in the next slide, where the sender of the message will see who has read or acknowledged this alerting function, for example. And in addition to that one, Teamwire provides also a panic button, which you can see in the upper screen. So with a certain gesture in the app, you go to this screen. Basically, you can hit the button for 30 seconds maximum. And what will happen? An audio record will be registered. And this audio record plus your geo position will be sent to a group chat, which has been created especially for you as a user. So for example, also in the police case or the military case, if somebody is in an emergent situation, he presses this panic button, and the operations center, for example, or colleagues nearby will be informed that Gianfranco Pizzata is in an emergent situation with the geo position where this user is located. Here on this screen, you can see how you can acknowledge the message. In this case, it's a fire alarm, I guess, or something like that. And you can acknowledge with OK, SOS. And if you hit this button, you see who in this chat or who of this alerting message have give already a feedback. Also here, I will show a little video that you get an idea how the other attention messages work.
With Teamwire, we have set the goal of closing gaps in business communication. In chat histories, you can lose track of important messages very quickly. Our visually highlighted messages make life easier. Attention messages are categorized in alerts, announcements, and notes. Open a chat of your choice. Either click on the plus icon or enlarge the message window. Choose a type of attention message. Type your text and send your message. Each recipient receives a push notification. In case of an alert, even with a special alert sound. They can respond with reactions to the highlighted messages. A report shows which recipients have received the message, viewed it, and how they reacted to it. Attention messages help increase the efficiency of all employees and promote team collaboration across the entire workforce. Download Teamwire today. Secure, simple, high-performing. Enjoy.
We as Teamwire, for example, we're using, of course, Teamwire a lot. And we have reduced our email communication to a minimum of, I would say, almost zero. I mean, there are people in my company I have never received an email. As we communicate with Teamwire only. And we get a lot of messages, of course. And this attention messages really help if you have some, for example, a new employee starts, or you have a maintenance that you want to take your colleagues aware of. You just simply send an announcement or note, and you can easily distinguish, you know, all the one normal messages from the important messages that you should be aware of. And it can be, as mentioned in the video, alarms, can be announcements, or even notes. Another important thing, which I would say some of the consumer apps have also introduced, WhatsApp for sure has it, is the live location. I mean, you can also send with Teamwire your geo position, but also activate your live location. And this is again important for security organizations, or even for mobile forces, where, for example, the operations center has to know where my employees are, even in the healthcare market, where a staff is mobile and the operations center want to know where some staff is located. If they can make it to the next patient, if they have a big building, you can activate your live location, and on a map, depending on which devices you are, if it's an iPhone like here on the screen, or a desktop client, you see on the big map where my employees are located and how they're moving from one place to the other. So really important function for mobile forces who are on the go and where the operations need to be aware of where they are. What we have also introduced is, but this is something we have, I think, already since 3 or 4 years, are polls. So if you have to make polls for, even though it's maybe a simple thing like, where do we have lunch today? Where should the next meeting happen? Where should the next event happen? You can easily, as a content type, also send polls in Teamwire. Regardless, or I think needless to say, that there are the normal content types like images, pictures, audio records, video records, things like that, but even also polls that you can send in order to, you know, quickly coordinate meetings or make any easy tasks to share different activities among your colleagues. One important factor, and this is depending on your company, is the communication with external users. When we started 10 years ago, we were a closed messenger just for the internal communication. And we really fast realized that companies, of course, they don't want to communicate only with their employees. So there has to be a way on how you communicate also with externals. And in Teamwire, there are different ways. I mean, we consider ourselves now as a communication hub, so to say, or a communication hub solution. And you as a company can decide if you want to communicate with externals. So if you are, for example, in the Teamwire cloud with a policy, you can decide if your employees can communicate also with cloud members, team members or not. This is the easiest way. Of course, there are also guest accounts you can hand over to your, for example, IT supplier, external companies with who you communicate on a regular basis. I mean, these guest accounts are, to be honest, only helpful if your external guest is communicating with you on a regular basis. If it's just a communication once or twice a year, nobody will download a dedicated app for communicating with you. So these guest accounts make only sense for the regular communication. If you have a sporadic communication, like you are a city, for example, city is a good example where we have sold this chat widget a lot, where you want to communicate with your population, so to say, you can introduce on your website a chat widget. This is part of our solution and can be embedded in each HTML site. You can see here, there's a bubble, chat with us, you open the window, you enter your name and you start a conversation. And you as a company or as an authority decide whether there is a chatbot behind that automatically communicates with the external or with your customer, or if there are real people behind it who, you know, answer questions to your product, to your services, whatsoever. And this chat widget is obviously a way to have a sporadic communication, because here the likelihood that the interest your customer or in a city, in the case of a city, the population will use the chat widget is rather high. And the other way is actually a business integration, or the WhatsApp for business integration. It sounds a little bit weird when we say at the beginning that WhatsApp is dangerous, shouldn't be used because of GDPR cases and things like that, and then we promote the WhatsApp for business integration. Actually, we have done this integration because every second customer of ours is asking us, but how do we communicate with WhatsApp users? And here we have found a way, if you want, how you can communicate with WhatsApp. The idea behind it is the WhatsApp for business integration, which you probably know, where you have a number. It can be a fixed line number or mobile number. You provide this number, for example, also on your web page, and your customer takes this number, starts a new conversation in its private WhatsApp account, and this conversation will be received in Teamwire. And you can answer in Teamwire, and the recipient, your customer, will receive the message in WhatsApp. So there's a real integration from WhatsApp to Teamwire. Very important to know, this is GDPR compliant. Why? Because the WhatsApp for business integration is something you have to pay for in sense of WhatsApp or Facebook. So there are different data protection rules or data protection mechanisms that take place here. And the other thing is, if you establish this communication from WhatsApp to Teamwire, the communication will happen only on ID basis. So there is no exchange of private information, unless the user writes in a chat his name and his personal data. But then he did it, and it's not your fault, so to say. So very important, if you use this WhatsApp for business integration, this is GDPR compliant and can be used to communicate with externals, customers, population, whatsoever. And this is also something which is heavily used by our customers, I have to admit. And the other way to communicate with is the federation that we have released, I think, mid of last year. I mentioned at the beginning that you can decide where your data is stored. So whether it's a public, private, or on-premise solution. So if you have an on-premise solution, for example, and you have a company who also uses Teamwire on-premise, and you have to need to communicate to each other, you can simply, with a Teamwire federation, connect your servers to each other in order to communicate to each other. In that case, if you want to send a new message, you can decide, do I want to send a one-to-one chat, a group chat, a broadcast chat, or a federated chat? So you can then communicate with an external server, a different on-premise installation or user, and set up communication. Very important, you as a company decide whether all your employees are used or are able to use the federation, or whether it's a small setup of users who can communicate with other federated on-premise installations. So this is something that you also can set in terms of policies. Last but not least, which is important, where we differentiate from other solutions, from consumer, but also from business solution, is the integration in your ecosystem. What we do as Teamwire, we provide an API, an SDK, so that you can basically connect to any third-party system. That can be a CRM system, an ERP system, in the hospital case, the hospital information system, and it helps you to bring your digitalization process on the next level, but also to motivate your employee to use Teamwire actually, because it has some productivity benefits. And I give you some example that you get an idea. If we take the hospital case, for example, a nurse, a doctor who's always on the go, has limited access to a PC and wants to know how many vacation days they have in order to plan their vacation. What they need to do is they have to go to a desk, they have to register on the desk, they have to basically open SAP, whatever they need as whatever they use as a HR tool, and then check how many vacation days they have. What they can do with Teamwire, and I can show you in a demo, they can simply select a HR bot, send the command, for example, vacation days, and the bot will communicate with the HR system, will check, will do an authentication of the user because the bot knows who the user is, does the authentication with the HR system, and sends back the remaining vacation days, basically. And so this helps in order to fasten the process to get some information from third-party system on one way, but also motivates the employees to use Teamwire because they simply see, I can do different use cases with Teamwire, which I can't do with WhatsApp, for example. And that can be any third-party system. It can be even a simple thing like your casino menu plan. If you want to see what today is Tuesday, what on Tuesday will be offered in your canteen as a menu plan. And this helps basically to, as mentioned before, to digitalize your processes, but also to motivate your employees to use Teamwire because it provides different or additional use cases. So very important. As I mentioned before, Teamwire can be used on multiple devices, iPhone, Android, tablet and phone, macOS, Windows, and also Linux, but also on a web browser. I will simply switch to my browser where I can show you some of the things I just mentioned. This is now my web browser. I'm logged in as Gianfranco Pizzata. And what I mentioned before, if I want to start a new chat, I can, for example, go to this group chat. And here I have lists, this distribution lists. For example, distribution lists I have created myself with my employees, but also, sorry for, I just realized that I haven't switched to the English version. This is now everything in German. Or I can use this distribution list, which are given from my administrator, which can be also Active Directory groups. So if you have Active Directory groups with project teams, with department groups, things like that, they can also sync in Teamwire and they appear here, and you can use them in order to create a new chat. So I could, for example, use this all employee. I can use this demo server group, things like that. I can give a name, test. Then I go to create a new group chat. And imagine now that in this distribution list were 1,000 of users. I've easily created a group chat with 1,000 users. This test here. And here I can now decide whether I want to basically send an announcement. I can highlight this with thumb up. Oops, I can add content for my PC. Sorry. Any kind of content, PDFs, Excel documents, whatsoever. But more important, you can enlarge also your screen. I hope you can see it, but you can really write large text in order to have, even complex, when you want to discuss complex situation. And this is available also on your mobile phone. If you want, I can show you also my mobile phone, where you can enlarge your screen to have really the full screen to write large text parts. If I take this bot integration, for example, I mentioned before. I'm now here in this in an HR. Oops, now it's gone. I have to search it again. Here's this HR bot, for example. And what I can do here is, I mean, it's again, it's sorry, it's in German. Urlaubstage. Urlaubstage means vacation day. So what I do here now is I send the command vacation day to this bot. The bot does an authentication on our HR system, and sends me back that my remaining vacation days for 2022 are 14 days. And I have to plan then until the end of the year. So you can see how fast I can get information from third-party systems. And that can be basically any kind of integrations. If I go to our directory, there's also a part for bots. Here you have an idea what kind of bots we have. You have a barcode scanner. You have a car plate bot, which is used by police to, get the details of the holder. The casino bot, dialect flow bot, Giphy bot, where you send an idea and you get a GIF picture, something fun. So there are a number of bots you can create yourself if you have the development capabilities, or we can do with our third-party integration partners in order to digitalize your processes. Just an idea on how Teamwire works. Let me switch back to the presentation. Now, if we talk to data protection and security aspects, I mean, I could easily spend an hour talking about data protection and security. What is really important is that we as a German company, we do business with sold license. So we have no interest to, store your address book or metadata, or even sell metadata to any company. Because as mentioned, our business model is based on sale on sold license and not on the data that we stored. And that means that our solution was developed with a privacy by design concept. And having said that, you can be sure that the data that we use is only the data that we really need in order to, make the service available for you. And this is something you can see in our ADV. So your how's it called in English? The data protection document, so to say, where we guarantee which data will be used, but also which you can test by yourself in terms of pen tests in order to verify that this, what we tell, is really the truth. And as mentioned in the beginning, based on a number of companies who have a really high or have really high requirements on data security or the data protection, there are a number of pen tests day by day. Day by day is a little bit exaggerated, but on a monthly basis, where our solution will be tested. When it comes to encryption, I can easily say that everything is encrypted. I don't know if you know the BSI in Germany. BSI is the ministry who is in charge of information security, and they give some requirements on how you, for example, have to encrypt. So we encrypt according to BSI requirements. So that means that any data on the phone or on the backend is encrypted. We encrypt with AES-256. So whether it's content, metadata, text data, everything will be encrypted. The communication is established in TLS 1.2 in an HTTPS channel, so to say. But if, for example, you would use Teamwire in the public cloud, we also have the mechanism of certificate pinning. So there is a certificate that the app requires in order to work. And if you have, for example, man-in-the-middle attack, which tells you I am the Teamwire server, of course, the wrong certificate or the certificate is missing and the app will immediately stop the communication. So there are a number of encryption method when it comes to transmission, but also to data encryption, which we have in place in order to secure the high data protection and security aspects of our solution. As mentioned, I mean, I could easily spend an hour talking about that stuff, but I think based on the reference customers we have, you can be sure that we are operating here on really the highest level. The heart of Teamwire, if I have to be honest, from a company perspective, I mean, one part is really that you have a solution which is similar to WhatsApp, full stop, because this is what the users are used, and there is a certain user experience that your employees would expect. And if the solution is too different from WhatsApp, the likelihood that they are not using it is high. So Teamwire is similar to WhatsApp. It looks really different. So checkpoint that you have the requirements from for your employees. The other part, what I mentioned in the beginning, is the enterprise grade administration. And here you have some screenshots how you can see how the dashboard looks like. And of course, you have some statistics, how many active users you have, how many daily messages on a monthly or daily basis your organization has sent, and where you can basically set all the different security policies. And it can be security policies in terms of what the customer can see, with whom we can communicate, but also in terms of content that he can send. It can be also, for example, if you use Teamwire on a private phone, that he has to use a PIN in order to access Teamwire. So there are different ways on how you can set up Teamwire as an app according to your company security and company policies. The other part is that you have audit-proof archiving and audit log functionalities. So and this is something that GDPR also forces. You have to have an archiving function so that if you have a compliance issue, as the data protection officer or the Works Council can see what communication has happened. Very important. This is a dedicated access. So the regular I would say admin or super admin, he can just do all the system requirements or system changes, and the data protection guy or data protection security officer or the Works Council has a dedicated access, which you can also share between two people. Only those guys have access to the archiving function, and they, at the end, if there has been a compliance issue, they can review all the communication of your employees. Of course, there's also an LDAP integration that if you are a large company, you don't have to do your user management in Teamwire. You can do it in your AD, so to say. So whenever a member leaves the organization, you change it in your AD and will be automatically synced also in Teamwire. And the same applies also to groups. If you have AD groups from a department perspective or project perspective, everything that you change in your ID will be also automatically changed in Teamwire. So there's an easy synchronization between Teamwire and your Active Directory, which is really important. Exactly, and that brings me to the end of my presentation. I don't know if there's time planned for questions, but I'm very happy to answer all of your questions that you have. Or if there's something you want to see dedicated, maybe mobile apps, I can also share my screen on iPhone and show you how the app looks on the iPhone, but I'm happy to get all your questions.
Yes, Gianfranco, if you can see in Q&A, yeah, there are actually two questions.
Let me check. The location today is based on GPS only, but we are what we are currently doing is we work when it comes to GPS data. We work only with the maps that the platform provides. So iOS, Android, and also the desktop client. Throughout this year, we will launch a function that you can exchange the maps, and with exchanging the maps, you can also use, for example, Wi-Fi or LBS. This is something we will provide in future. And the language settings, of course, I mean, in the dashboard, you can set only German and English, but in the apps, we provide a number of languages. And when we need a new language, we can easily add it because there is a tool that we use in order to do the translation. So if we have to add new languages, we can do this rather easy. So there can be a number of languages added. Any other question, maybe?
Jā, lūdzu, izmantojiet tādu chatu vai Q&A funkciju, lai uzdot jautājumus.
Maybe also worth to mention, you can test Teamwire free of charge for 30 days with 10 users. So if you want to experience Teamwire and see how it works, just use the contact details on the screen, sales at teamwire.eu, or go to our website. There's a form that you can fill where you can test the entire solution. So the dashboard, the different apps, even some integration if you like, to get an idea or feeling how Teamwire really works. I think there's another question. The admin portal is English and German, so you can change it between English and German. This is actually only those two languages.
Okay, if there are no more questions, then I shall say thanks to Gianfranco for interesting presentation, and shall thank also all the participants who actually choose to join, let's say, this webinar and to listen to what we have to say. Tad paldies visiem dalībniekiem, un tad mums šis seminārs ir nobeidzies. Paldies.
Thanks very much to you.